Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas, and one question that I feel like needs to be answered and has been asked for quite a few decades now is, does Resident Evil need Shinji Mikami back? Now, if you don't know who Shinji Mikami is, he is the brainchild of the Resident Evil series. He is the director from the original Resident Evils all the way up to about Resident Evil 4. He's worked on them for many, many years. The original vision of Resident Evil wasn't good enough for him, so he made the remake, and that was fantastic. Shinji Mikami ended up leaving Capcom, and he went and started his own studio, Tango Gameworks, which subsequently got picked up by Bethesda and ZeniMax, which obviously then got picked up by Microsoft. Now, looking at what Tango Gameworks has done, their first release was The Evil Within, and they had The Evil Within 2, they had Ghostwire Tokyo, and then they had Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush, very, very different from the other three. Now, what people would say is, well, hang on, Jimmy, Shinji Mikami left. Tango Gameworks isn't Microsoft anymore. Yes, okay, so Microsoft closed Tango Gameworks, but this was after Shinji Mikami left. Now, I'm not exactly caught up on what Shinji Mikami is doing. We all know Resident Evil took a downturn and then it redeemed itself. We all know that this happened a while ago now. But Shinji Mikami was the brains behind the original Resident Evils. These are some of the best games ever. Like, ever. Like, seriously, they're brilliant. They look awful, they're cheesy, they're funny. I mean, Jill Sandwich, really? But come on. They basically made the survival horror genre. And if you say they didn't, look, they popularized it. They made it what it is today. And that was all because of Shinji Mikami. Now, whatever Shinji Mikami chooses to do next is entirely up to him. But could Resident Evil 9 benefit from having Shinji Mikami in it? No, actually no. I have seen people say that they would love to see Shinji Mikami come back to Capcom, much in the same way they'd love to see Kojima back at Konami. That's not going to happen. There might be a chance Shinji Mikami could go back to Capcom, but I mean, there's no chance that Kojima's ever going to work with Konami again. Let's be honest on that one. Shinji Mikami is a genius when it comes to game design for survival horror. I mean, if you played The Evil Within, you'll know what I mean. Evil Within 2, brilliant game. Ghostwire Tokyo is a bit of a funny one, but it's kind of cool. I don't think Shinji Mikami could bring anything to the table with Resident Evil, though. Not at all, not anymore. He's been out of the game for almost 20 years. He hasn't worked with Capcom for nearly 20 years now. He's done his own things. His vision of what Resident Evil is probably isn't where Capcom's is either, and maybe not where we want it to be either. You just have to look at the recent success in the past probably 7 or 8 years with Resident Evil, going from the Resident Evil 7 game, first person, Resident Evil Village, the 2 remake, 3 remake, 4 remake, and whatever is going to come next. We all assume it's going to be Resident Evil 9, and let's face it, it is going to be Resident Evil 9, and that is going to come out in 2025. There is nothing Shinji Mikami could do. I mean, really? We've heard the rumours of Resident Evil 9 being on an island and doing all this, that and the other. Capcom has nailed whatever they've done Resident Evil-wise over the past 7 or 8 years. Yeah, I know Resident Evil 3 Remake was a bit hit and miss because of its length and content was cut, but you know what? It was still a really, really good game. If Shinji Mikami did choose to come back to Capcom and start working on Resident Evil, I don't think he would want to make new Resident Evils per se. In his mind, I think he would love to redo the original Resident Evil. He's always said that he had the vision for it, and obviously the restrictions of the original PlayStation, they were terrible. I mean, go and look at it. Go and look at a video on Resident Evil on YouTube after you've watched this one. And then look at Resident Evil 2. Yes, it changed, it got better, and then Resident Evil 3 better again. But his original vision ended up being in Resident Evil Remake. And you know what? In his mind, now, seeing what can be done with the likes of Resident Evil 4 Remake, could you imagine his mind, what he's thinking? His original vision could be truly realised. And that is something I would actually like to see. I would like to see Shinji Mikami come back and do a new Resident Evil 9, Resident Evil 10. What I would love to see is him come back and work on that remake, the Resident Evil remake, we'll call it that, so it'd be remake. That'd be awesome. Because then Shinji Mikami, being the brains behind that, he knows the lore of that original Resident Evil game and the remake. He could add to it, he could bring everything together, and I think him as director would be a real benefit to that game. Not just that game though, perhaps even a Code Veronica remake, because obviously he worked on Code Veronica. He was the brains behind that one as well. But, you know, Code Veronica is a bit of a funny one. I'm not entirely sure whether it will get a remake. I made a video a couple of months ago about why I don't think it'd be a remake, because I don't think it will fit in culturally with the way the world is now. But that's a different story. I genuinely think Shinji Mikami could bring something to the Resident Evil series, just not the new games. Anyway, what do you think about Shinji Mikami as a creator, as a developer, as a director? Let me know in the comments below if you think you'd love to see him back, and just let me know if I'm talking a load of old rubbish. See you in the next one.